Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wealthy Habits, the channel where we explore financial topics, everyday money decisions, and the habits that quietly shape our financial well being. Now, as the holiday season approaches, conversations about spending tend to become louder, faster, and more emotionally charged. Christmas, in particular, often comes with expectations around generosity, celebrations, and togetherness. Now, today's presentation is not about cutting joy, limiting celebrations, or turning the holiday into a financial checklist, but it's more about an invitation to reflect on how we can enjoy the holidays while staying aligned with our financial reality. Before we talk about strategies or steps, it's helpful to understand why holiday overspending is so common in the first place. Seasonal discounts and sales, unfortunately, create a sense of urgency. So we are encouraged to believe that spending more now somehow equals saving more later, even when the purchase wasn't planned. At the same time, predefined spending limits are often absent, and without them, it becomes harder to distinguish between genuine savings and unnecessary spendings. And finally, value is frequently confused with quantity because more gifts, more food, more decorations, even when usefulness or meaning doesn't increase. Now, this is an important reframing moment because holiday overspending is not primarily a personal failure, but it's more a systematical encouragement through marketing, through cultural norms, timing pressures, and social expectations. And because of that, awareness has to come before change, not discipline, not willpower, awareness. And perhaps most importantly, the goal here is not perfection, but the goal is calmer holidays, fewer regrets, and decisions that feel intentional rather than rushed. Before we move into the practical steps, I want to pause briefly in order to clarify the scope of what follows. This presentation is designed for educational and informational purposes only. It does not offer personalized financial advice, nor does it account for individual financial circumstances, obligations, or constraints. The ideas shared here are rather meant to support reflection, awareness, and informed decision making, and not to prescribe behavior or create pressure around how anyone should spend during the holidays. And once that's in mind, let's move forward. The first step we'll explore is establishing a clear holiday spending framework. This begins with spending limits, identifying an overall amount that feels financially manageable within your broader context. And from there, spending categories help bring structure. Gifts, food, travel, entertainment, not as rigid rules, but as points of visibility. And finally, financial boundaries serve as reference points. They exist to support intentional decisions, not to restrict enjoyment. At its core, this step is about awareness rather than restriction. The next step focuses on planning ahead. Simple actions like listing who you're buying gifts for or setting a rough maximum per person can significantly reduce impulse purchases. And remember, last minute shopping often increases both spending and stress, but planning, even lightly, creates a breathing room. And in many cases, planning doesn't remove spontaneity, it prevents impulse spending from quietly taking control. The third step invites us to rethink what gift giving actually represents. Thoughtful does not automatically mean expensive. Meaning is often created through relevance, care, and intention. So, experiences, personalized items, shared or group gifts, these can carry emotional value that far exceeds monetary costs. And ultimately, the value of a gift is emotional and not financial. Another area where holiday spending tends to escalate is food and entertainment. Dining out, hosting, gatherings, and celebrations add up quickly, often more than expected. Setting gentle limits, cooking at home when possible, and simplifying gatherings can reduce both financial and emotional pressure. And after all, it's connections what tends to be remembered. The next step is understanding the difference between discounts and real savings. A discount only saves money if the purchase was planned in the first place. And buying something simply because it's on sale often leads to higher overall spending and not lower. And before pressing buy, especially while scrolling online, it can help to pause and ask whether items align with your original intentions. And in many cases, quality over quantity leads to better outcomes. This brings us to an important consideration: holiday credit use, because credit cards can delay the immediate impact of spending, but they often increase the long term cost. Interest transforms short term joy into prolonged financial stress. And for many people, entering January without additional debt can be one of the most meaningful gifts that they have ever done to themselves. Now, let's briefly pause and reflect on what we have covered so far. So, enjoying the holidays does not require overspending, expensive purchases, expensive gifts. Planning and awareness tend to lead to calmer celebrations because you don't have the financial burden. And holiday spending done with intention often reduces regret later because you are free of charge and free of debts. Now, before we even continue, let's slow down for a moment. So, what tends to influence your holiday spending the most? Planning, emotional immersion, or is it external expectations? Which holiday expenses feel genuinely meaningful to you and which feel more habitual rather than intentional? How do timing and financial obligations shape your choices each year? And finally, what do we often overlook when giving during the holidays? Take a moment to reflect and feel free to share your thoughts below. I'd love to see your responses. So, when we step back, many people find that the holidays are less about spending and more about other forms of value. And what do I mean here by other forms of value? It can be time with loved ones, rest and reflection, gratitude and intention, and rather than material overspending. And remember, memories outweigh material gifts, and financial peace is a meaningful part of overall well being. It's also worth remembering that no holiday or no Christmas is perfect because each household celebrates differently, shaped by cultural, religious, personal, and social values. Economic realities influence choices more than we often acknowledge, and comparison, especially online, tends to distort both joy and perception. Of course, spending decisions don't occur in isolation, but income, obligations, and timing significantly influence financial choices. So, access to options varies widely across households, and some families may celebrate more lavishly, while others create meaningful traditions within tighter constraints. Neither approach defines worth or success, and financial literacy operates within cultural and economic limits. One of the most consistent findings in financial behavior is this: intentionality matters more than amount. So, what do I mean here? Spending reflects values, not personal worth. Small, thoughtful choices often carry more meaning than large, unexamined ones, and clarity tends to reduce both financial and emotional stress, regardless of your budget size. If today's presentation was helpful, you might consider reflecting on which ideas resonated most with you. Feel free to share this with someone who may find it useful. And if you'd like to continue exploring financial literacy topics, you're welcome to subscribe and stay connected for future content. Your reflections and comments contribute meaningfully to this conversation. And finally, thank you for spending time with me. I wish you a peaceful and thoughtful holiday season. May your celebrations be guided by awareness, intention, and financial clarity. Of course, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and become part of the Financial Learning Club. Wishing you a Merry Christmas and warm wishes for the season ahead.